Okay, I think we have gathered our audience and we can start. And of course, everyone would join when they have time. Hello everyone. My name is Neda Hitsova, and I'm part of the founding members of Connect Nordics team. Thank you very much for joining our online event today. We are very happy to organize this and to have you all here. Our idea is to make a kind of very open collaboration event. We are going to have some lectures at the beginning, very interesting ones, and then we are going to have a more informal part and guided networking session where you all would be able to face and to talk with the presenters today. So for those of you who meet Connect Nordics for the first time, we are an organization that supports the Nordics connections and business relationships between the Nordic countries and Bulgaria and the rest of the Southeastern European countries. So our platform, connectnordics.com, is a digital platform that supports networking, information exchange, and also helps individuals and businesses to connect and collaborate and do business together in both directions. So I would go very shortly in the agenda that we have today. I have presented myself, and then we have some quite good and valuable speakers today. And thank you very much to our speakers also for joining and for sharing information with our audience. We have Valentin Stoev, who is currently the commercial attaché of Bulgaria for the Nordics market. Hello, Valentin.
Hello, nice to see all of you. I'm very happy to be here. This is an interesting topic. I have to be honest that I have heard the word or the abbreviation ESG from Iskra and Nadia first, a few months ago, but now I know a lot more. I did my research, I got interested in it, and I can talk now. I can be of help of everybody. I think that we can say that the combination of these three letters in practice means sustainability. And in Sweden, this is not just a word or abbreviation. They consider it they take it very seriously. It is more of a theme of integrated sustainable development, which is a guiding principle and overall concept of improving the life of the society here in Sweden and in the Nordic countries. They have a comprehensive approach that includes, how to say, all the usual suspects like altogether circular economy, green transition, environmental protection, carbon neutrality, etc., etc. Sustainable living is very much part of everyday life in Sweden. The country's world leader in sustainable development practices. Actually in 2015, it was ranked first in the world for its positive practices and achievements. And since then, it occupies the top positions always in all subsequent years. The Swedish approach to sustainability is rooted in deep understanding of the interrelationship or connection between environmental, social, and economic factors. And it recognizes that true sustainability can only be achieved by addressing all these dimensions simultaneously together. And by embracing this holistic vision of the future, the country has successfully aligned economic growth with economic protection and social welfare. We can say that Swedish approach serves as a model for other countries, stressing the importance of considering the interconnectedness of different sectors and striving for a balance between human activities and the natural world. Sustainable living is very much part of everyday life in Sweden, of everyday part of the life of every citizen here. From recycling and saving energy to treating nature and consuming wisely, everyone plays some role in preserving the country's pristine nature. One of the main reasons here is probably children are taught of the importance of protecting the environment and are educated to be active and to like, understand, and lead such a conscious lifestyle. Such a practices and efforts are introduced at the community level, at the national level, and Sweden is trying to help others to introduce at the international or world level the same standards and practices. They can be proud of their green infrastructure and sustainable urban environment. The country is a pioneer in environmental protection and a leader in sustainable development and innovation into the urban area in the cities, not only in the nature actually itself. Most of the buildings are energy efficient with smart system. There are so-called passive houses. Renewable energy generation is widely used. Other part of that process is, let's say, organic farming. Agriculture in Sweden has adopted such a sustainable practices to minimize its impact on the environment. Circular economy is extremely well developed. All activities connected to the circular economy are taken very seriously here. There are many useful and interesting examples which could be given, of course, separately, not in my introductory speech, if I can say that. The country has set some ambitious targets and measures to achieve sustainable development, like in their roadmap 2050. Sweden intends to become the world's first fossil fuel-free country, and they plan to reduce greenhouse emissions significantly. Sweden was the first country in the world probably which implemented a carbon tax, and which is more than 2 times the OECD average levels of such a tax. The country's soon. Government agencies, regions, and municipalities are working to achieve all the goals which are included in their strategy. And probably important, and business community, of course, is very much integrated and in sync with such an efforts. Probably I should mention at the end that Sweden is one of the world's most generous aid donors, and the government is committed to allocating 1% of the Sweden's GDP to official development assistance. And of course, they are always looking for new forms and innovative types of financing. Of course, this type of assistance is mostly focused to help low-income countries, but there are options for countries like Bulgaria too. Thank you very much, and I'm at your disposal for further information, for additional information. Thank you.
Thank you very much also, Valentin, for being with us today and for sharing these valuable insights about the market. So it is really important that you're located in Stockholm and you meet every day with the business and in Sweden and also with in the other Nordic countries. So this is really great to hear about how the people in those markets think about. I will very briefly present the rest of our speakers today and also our friends who helped about this event, and I will give also the word to our speakers. So we also have here in the call Galatea Kulikova, who is one of the founding members of Connect Nordics and is also the former commercial attaché for the Nordics market. We have Nadia Sultanova here, who is the head of the Urban Impact Ventures, and she's going to give valuable insights about how ESG and sustainability reflects from investors' point of view. Also, we have Iskra Yovkova, who is founder and CEO of Impact, and she will provide very practical guidelines on how to assess the ESG readiness in an organization. And we have actually we have gained and gathered all these speakers today with the idea to help and to facilitate the companies in Bulgaria to understand more about ESG and also to be market ready for the Nordics countries. As Valentin mentioned in the beginning, this is really important, how you treat ESG, what kind of practices you have in your business, and also to be able to prove these practices so that to be trustworthy and to be a verified company for doing business in the Nordics. Just to mention briefly, and that's the last slide from my side, these are the friends of Connect Nordics today that helped us organize this event. This is Code Academy. This is the company Abilitics, which is a software company that is providing us the platform connectnordics.com. And it is an open platform and everyone could make a profile, register there, make connections, gather information. Impact, of course, with Iskra presenting today, and Urban Impact Ventures. So again, thank you very much for joining the event. And I would give the word now to Galatea to share also some valuable insights about the ESG in the Nordics.
Thank you, Neda. Do you hear me all?
Yes.
Okay, excellent, because I had some problems with my headphones. Okay, hi, I'm Galatea. As Neda said, I'm former commercial attaché in the Nordics and also founding member of Connect Nordics.com. Thank you, Neda, for the invitation to present some thoughts on the Nordic markets and the ESG. I will start with the broader picture. In literature, in scientific literature, there are three most common modes of international expansion: leasing your product, exporting your product or service, or establishing your company. And starting from here, I would like to make three major points. And my first point will be that in order to achieve any of the above, any form of international expansion, you need a network of international partners. This is like the basic of the basic, I think. In recent survey that was prepared by Bulgarian Expansion Bridge, another partner of Connect Nordics.com, having international partners was recognized by Bulgarian companies as one of the top strategic choices to invest in when expanding abroad. So my first point is that you need international partners. And here comes my second point, very briefly. My second point is that together with this awareness of the importance of partnership and networking, Bulgarian companies have other advantages, of course. Just to mention few, low transaction costs. These are EU companies. We share a common market, common values, common rules. We have just 1 hour time difference. We also have very well developed transport and telecommunication infrastructure at national and at EU level. We have very rapidly growing, still growing IT sector, despite some difficulties in the last year. And also, there are a lot of Bulgarian companies already members of the national and international business organizations, like chambers of commerce, startup associations, also UN Global Compact and the Bulgarian representation here. This is the international organization that deals with sustainability, ESG, and so on and so forth. And here comes my third point, and it is that together with everything of the above, you need recognition. If we're talking Scandinavian partners, you need their recognition. Trust is crucial, and personal recommendations are key. And part of getting recognized there is also your ESG awareness. You really can't do without it. And that also applies to funding as well. A few of the latest trends presented in the 2023 report on Nordic impact startups prepared by Danske Bank, Invest Stockholm, and Deal Room support this statement that I made before. The report concludes that the Nordics are still leaders in the impact space. Sweden and Stockholm are leading hubs. The Nordics are the most impact-focused region in the world, with, this is information from 2023, with 38% of funding going to impact startups, compared to 22% for Europe and less than 10% for US and Asia. The 4 major Nordic countries rank among the top 11 countries by total and early stage funding, with Sweden leading on most metrics, followed by Norway. At city level, Stockholm is the top hub. Although impact funding has suffered the slowdown in the Nordics, it is showing more resilience and strong historical performance. Transportation and energy have dominated climate tech funding in the Nordics, but new segments like blue economy and carbon tech are emerging. And not to prolong this, these facts were just to support my last point, that if you are a startup, if you're looking for funding in the Nordics, you really need to be ESG aware and prepare for what you will find on these markets. So I will conclude with this, and I will share the link to this survey, to this report in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Galatea, for sharing the insight. Really, one of the values of Connect Nordics is to support companies to be Nordics ready and to adopt the sustainable practices within their organizations. So also part of our community are a lot of startup companies, small and medium-sized businesses. And I would invite now Nadia Sultanova to talk a little bit more about how ESG impacts the decisions for investment funding. So the floor is yours, Nadia.
Thank you. Can everybody hear and see me?
Yes.
Jump if you do. Good. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Connect Nordics, Neda, Galatea, Valo, for the invitation and the opportunity to address this wonderful community today. I will spend the next 15, even probably 10 minutes talking about some basic sustainability-related concepts, things like ESG, impact investing, sort of going back to the basics. I do not expect those of you, any of them to be new to any of you, unless you've lived on another planet for the last 5 to 10 years. However, what I'll focus on today is how those different concepts interrelate, and more specifically, why companies, even small companies, should start reporting and measuring sustainability as soon as possible, and how that information that they gather and report on is then taken and integrated into the decision-making process of capital allocators, be it VC funds like us, or be it even going to the bank for a loan if you want. Of course, what gathers us here today is the Nordic team. So I will take the perspective of let's get ready for the Nordics. And we'll be talking from the point of view of a Bulgarian company looking for VC funding in the Nordics or looking for partners and clients from that market. Now, before I continue, let me briefly introduce myself. Next slide, please. My name is Nadia, and for the last 3 years, I've been part of Urban Impact Ventures. This is a Dutch VC fund. We invest in the sustainable transformation of cities in Europe. And I do not see the next slide. Iskra, if you can please.
I am on the next slide.
Okay, great. Now I see it.
But
wonderful.
Do you see it?
Yes, I see it now. So we are a transformative investor on a mission to improve the urban quality of life in Europe. We invest in areas like decarbonization and circularity, and in verticals like waste, water, new innovative materials, energy transition, energy efficiency, shared economy, to name but a few. And we also impact investor, which means that not only that we invest only in companies that have the potential for a substantial, I want to say, transformative impact on people and planet, but we also support those companies throughout the entire investment period to manage and report on that impact. Now, a year and a half ago, the team started as a side project, started creating a methodology that would help small and medium, mostly scale-ups, to be honest, companies to measure their sustainability. That side project took a life on its own. It's now a separate company called U Impact. It's based in Sofia, female-led, by Iskra, who is also here today, and she will be speaking right after with more details on how they can help you with your sustainability management and reporting. Now, I said we will cover a few basic sustainability-related concepts today. So we cannot not start with the famous and lately infamous ESG. It's a term that a lot of people are familiar with, but very few people can define. So I decided to include it here. Apologies for those who know what it is. Now, ESG is an abbreviation for environmental, social, and government. Those are basically 3 sets of factors, 3 pillars, if you wish. The environmental deals with the impact of the natural world. Those are things like CO2 emissions, wastewater pollution and usage, energy efficiency, renewable energy usages, biodiversity, and so on and so forth, rather self-explanatory. The social pillar includes how the company manages its relationships with stakeholders. And stakeholders here can be anyone from employees to customers to residents of the area in which the company operates or area in which from which the company sources raw materials. Things like diversity and inclusion comes to mind as an example. Human rights, workers' rights, and so on. Government, the third pillar, is basically the quality and the effectiveness of the company's corporate governance structure and practices. And some of the factors included in this pillar are things like board composition, board independence, whistleblowing, regulatory compliance, policy house, and so on and so forth. So none of those factors in any of the pillars is quite new, to be honest. So the new thing comes that all this is compiled in a relatively comprehensive framework for evaluating companies' operation and business practices on top of the financial performance of the company. So if you remember anything about ESG, I want you to remember the fact that it's a framework for evaluating the company. Next slide, please. And we cannot talk about ESG as a framework for evaluation without mentioning the principle of double materiality. And here I will take a step back and mention what single materiality is before I go into double materiality. So single materiality or just materiality is the more traditional, the older approach of looking at ESG factors and only looking at the way those factors affect the financial performance of the company. Double materiality, on the other hand, on top of that, also looks and considers how the company's operations affect the environment and the society in which the company operates, or so-called, in short, the people and the planet. For many years, there has been debates about single materiality crowd and double materiality crowd, the first claiming that the business is in the business of making money and has no job in doing anything else. That's its societal contribution. Now this debate is pretty much over. Since 2019, the principle of double materiality has been adopted in the European sustainability disclosure regulations. So this is what is followed from now on. Next slide, please. We briefly discussed what the company reports and using ESG as a framework for reporting. Now let's go into what happens with that data. In an ideal world, that information coming from the company, all that reporting, goes into the capital and financial markets and is integrated into the decision-making process. And we come to the idea of sustainable investing. And here I'm simplifying. Let's have this disclosure as a side note, just because we have a very short time, but we can go into details on the slides a little bit later. So we come to the idea of sustainable investing. This is an investment approach that considers sustainability factors alongside financial criteria into the decision-making process. Traditional finance, traditional investing considers only financial factors. Sustainable investing considers financial factors and sustainability factors. That's the new. There are several levels of depth in sustainable investing. The most shallow one is negative screening, or simply excluding certain, let's say, industries. Most often this is weapons, brown energy, adult entertainment, tobacco, you know the culprits. That approach has been criticized because for many people, and it's a long topic, I'm not going to go into it, but it's been criticized because it has no impact whatsoever, according to many of the critics. Then we come to positive screening. Positive screening is basically automatically saying that we'll only invest in companies that have a certain level of minimum level of a certain ESG index. Also very criticized. Indexes are very controversial. Different proxies are being used. Methodology is not clear. There's discrepancies and so on and so forth. So when you hear about the so famous ESG backlash, this is the type of investment strategies that they're criticizing most often. And if you're interested in the topic, there's a tremendous and growing amount of literature, and I encourage you to dive in. A few steps above all that is impact investing. Impact investing is consciously investing in companies that through their product or services have the material, positive, and I want to say transformative potential to positively impact the people or the planet. Engagement and active ownership is just an extension of impact investing. I really cannot imagine one without the other. Next slide, please. So there are few elements of impact investing that I want to mention. First of all, there are expectations for returns. They could be below market returns or market returns rates, but there is the expectation for returns. Otherwise, we're talking about philanthropy. There's the element of intentionality, which means that the impact cannot be a byproduct of something that the investor does. It has to be in the investment thesis. There has to be a theory of change and so on and so forth for the investment to be considered impact. And there has to be an impact measurement framework, which means that the investor is transparent, measures and reports on a portfolio level on the impact generated by each investment. And when we talk about impact, most often than not, you see the Sustainable Development Goals being mentioned. The reason behind that, and I would not discuss what the Sustainable Development Goals are. I imagine most of the people are extremely familiar with them. I would just say that in the impact world, they are rather accepted as a framework for impact alignment, let's say. The reason behind that is that they're simple, understandable. They come with 169 sub-goals. And every sub-goal is well aligned with a rather large set of KPIs. So it's easy to determine what you want to achieve and to measure it. Okay, I'm going back to impact investing in the Nordics. Well, a lot's been said about the Nordics by people who know a lot more about the Nordics than me. What I would say is that, of course, care for the society and the nature is sort of a DNA, part of the DNA of those societies. They're not subscribing to the maxim, the business of business is business, to quote Milton Friedman. On the contrary, they do care. And as in every society, capital is being allocated according to values. And in the Nordics, the values are sustainability, they're ingrained, and a lot of the capital goes according to that. 1/3 to 1/4 of all VC investing in 2021, 2022 went to impact companies. However, that's the data Gaute also quoted. Just a side note, I would take that with a bit of a grain of salt, because that's first of all, period in VC investing that is not very representative. It was a historical peak, plus a few climate tech companies did very large rounds in that period. But anyway, in conclusion, impact investing in the Nordics is here to stay, there to stay. It's not going anywhere. So if you're looking for investment from a VC, impact investment from a VC, or just any VC, make sure you take a look at your sustainability reporting and make some steps to align your company to the SDGs that I mentioned prior. And last but not least, there is a regulatory pressure that's on a European level. There is a corporate sustainability regulation directive kicking into force in all European countries this year. So basically, if you are a company of 500 people, employees, and as of next year, that drops down to 250, you will be required to report under CSRD. And CSRD also covers the entire value chain. So if you have a client that is required to report, most probably than not, they will ask you for the information. They will probably ask you for the information, also historical information, and that's why it's very important to start tracking and measuring today. And to conclude, all access, not just regulation, there are other pressures. A lot of sources of financing and contracting activities are related to sustainability metrics. Requirements are ingrained in public procurement practices on city level, on regional level, on national level. Bank financing is increasingly related to ESG. Some banks offer better interest rates for ESG compliant companies, and so on and so forth. And last but not least, it's a basic, how to say, a basic hygiene. You're expected to track that in the Nordics. So thank you from me.
Thank you very much, Nadia. This was a really great presentation. Very interesting, and I guess there are no doubts what is the direction for the companies and for the businesses, especially going and looking towards the Nordics direction, but not only. As you know, as shown this year, there are a lot of regulations coming, and it's also pressure to go into this direction. And if you still wonder how to get there, now I would invite Iskra to share some insights on the practical side and what would be the easiest way and how actually to shape your business and where to start from the DSD journey. So Iskra, welcome. And you can share also some insights on the topic.
Thank you, Neda. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for this really meaningful topic. The more we talk about it, the better. So I will go back to the basics of the basics, as the subject is quite broad. So we're approaching it, as Nadia said, from the perspective of a Bulgarian small or medium-sized company which needs to do the basics right before targeting sustainability-aware markets. So, okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, super. Clear. Yeah, I'm Iskra Jovkova. I'm the managing director of Fuel Impact. As Nadia mentioned, we are a company with the mission to support businesses of all sizes to engage and to start engaging in sustainable practices. To do this, they need to clear the house, like to do the basic hygiene, to take care of the inside housekeeping, which is the ESG perspective, and they have to assess, study, and take care also of the outside effect on the environment, society, and the people and the planet in whole, and that's their impact. So I will be looking into those two aspects. But why should actually companies be looking to be more sustainable? It's really important to stress that companies that to start engaging in sustainable practices, it's no more nice to have. Sustainability is becoming the norm. In addition to being quite a strong positioning tool and to be a really nice instrument to attract customers, to position as a employer with a vision, especially bearing in mind the Gen Z and millennial demographics, it is also becoming quite crucial to win vendor contracts. And that's connected again with the regulations that we've mentioned so far, but we'll be talking more and more about regulations as requirements under the regulations would be expanding and would be affecting bigger and bigger scopes of companies. Under the upcoming regulations in Europe, more than 50,000 companies would have to analyze impacts, risks, and opportunities from a sustainability perspective across their value chains. More than 2,000 of these companies would be in the Nordics. That means that all those companies would expect from their subcontractors, vendors, and suppliers to be ready to provide relevant data across all the topics of sustainability and across the three pillars of the ESG framework, but also to be also about their impact. This sophisticated regulatory landscape, there is additionally, the situation is additionally exacerbated in the Nordics by the really strong ambitions of the region to become the most sustainable and integrated region by 2030. So as pursuing this ambition, we see that all the countries, in addition to the already existing numerous European regulations, have introduced country-specific regulations. For example, Norway has introduced a supply chain due diligence regulation before the European Union adopted one. Actually, we're waiting today to hear the news on that one, the latest one. It's easier to, I wouldn't say easier, but now in the quite tough times from a funding perspective for the business, and with the drying up resources, energy crisis, it's becoming a plus to actually be sustainability aware. And as already said, banks, investors might provide funding at a better, with the better terms, mainly because taking care of this aspect means that sustainability related risks are well managed and the company is more resilient. But how to do this? As we said, we start from housekeeping, cleaning doing the hygiene minimum within the company, and that is by taking care of the ESG factors. ESG is a framework. ESG refers to policies, practices, procedures, and metrics. When we talk about data, we talk about qualitative and we talk about quantitative data related to ESG. Both quantitative data such as carbon footprint, resource consumption, but also qualitative such as what policies are there, what procedures, what culture has the organization within. They're both important and both are taken into account when assessing the company score. It is not a matter of achieving the perfect score. The perfect score does not exist. One of the reasons being that there is not a perfect measurement framework. There are over 600 reporting considerations for ESG, both obligatory and mandatory, and half of them are in Europe, but there is convergence. And no matter that we have so many frameworks, approaches, standards, there are the basic minimum that a company is already not nice to have, but should have, can be outlined under the 3 pillars. This concerns resource consumption, carbon footprint, use of any hazardous substances, water pollution, water consumption. Also, we have water footprint. And then under the social, we have themes like, of course, diversity and inclusion, work environment, ethical code of ethics, and while environmental takes care of the environment and the social takes care of the society, the good governance actually takes care that the company would be more resilient, better prepared for the risks, and also better prepared for the growth. And companies that are well aware of their ESG standing, they are better prepared to scale up, because it is much wiser to set your processes in place while you are growing than afterwards. Really important part, one of them, just to point your attention, quite important factor, ESG factors are those related to the supply chain, those related to ethical and other sustainability conditions set out in the documents and procedures related to vendors. And those are the conditions that it's one of the must-have. While it is good to have a dedicated compliance officer, if the company is not grown and developed enough or to that size, or if it's not operating in such sector, it's something that it may postpone to have, let's say, a dedicated compliance officer. But to put the procedures with the suppliers in place as soon as possible, as early as possible, it's crucial. And while this is we set the ESG as the picture within the organization, The picture out of the organization is represented by impact, and the well-accepted, adopted framework for impact are the Sustainable Development Goals and the applicable targets. There are it's many resources about the SDGs. There is a lot of guidance. This is a world agenda, and it's, if you are interested, you can you should look, and you can find so much about the SDGs that it can even be confusing, so you don't know where to start. So I will try to guide you where it's good to start, to see, to start, to check, to assess, to get the feeling whether you have impact or whether you don't have impact, or whether is that impact positive or negative, is it present or is it potential. When we discuss impact, it's not just a spot, a point in the present. We should always think in perspective, and we should not only think about positive impact, like the company has contribution to reduce poverty, for example, but we should also look into negative impact, and we should not ignore potential opportunities. So the most important thing is to get acquainted with the SDGs, 17 goals, 169 targets defined by the UN. The second thing is to look into your business case. Where are you? What does your company do? Do you see that any any innovation that you develop, that if or any research and development or any business as usual as it is might have any might be attributed or might be connected. I don't say yet have impact, but might be related to any of the goals. It is important to, I will say it again, identify potential opportunities. As impact, it's about opportunity. It's about the effort to achieve the Agenda 2030 actually is opening new markets. It's opening new markets for innovations. It's opening markets for products and services that were not existing before. Solving problems, achieving missions creates innovation. To identify positive or negative impact, in order to, the second step is to define priorities. The company should look beyond the operations within the assets that it can control. It should look also on its value chain, upstream and downstream. It should look on any issues connected with the resources it uses, or let's say where the product ends in the end. Then the company should identify those spots on the value chain where there might be potential impact, positive or negative, select indicators, collect data, and prioritize. Not all SDGs can be, it's very rare that a company can be attributed, can be aligned to, or that all SDGs can be attributed to the company's operation. More likely, it would be a couple of SDGs, positive, or a couple negative. It is usual that it's more than one, since the goals are interconnected, and contributions to one of the goals often lead to contributions to another. The most important thing is, after we define the priorities, we define KPIs, we cannot we should measure and manage, and we cannot manage what we do not measure. We should define the baseline that might be current year, present, or the last year, or the latest time that a certain indicator was measured. And we should set an ambition. And then that ambition and that target should be integrated across the whole business. It should be well communicated to employees. It should be adopted by the management in the business strategy. And most importantly, it should be really, really well communicated to the external public. In the next few slides, I'm presenting some practical examples. That's an example of a company in Kenya. This is the so-called theory of change visualization that is used when defining impact. Briefly, this company is producing shoes that can adjust their size and that can be worn by a person 5, 6, 7 years. More than 1.5 billion of people suffer from soil-connected diseases. People without shoes, they're exposed to all kinds of disease. So what that company does is it's actually producing her production base is in Kenya. So it has, it can be, her activity can be attributed to SDG 10, which is the reduced inequality, as they create more than they aim to create more than 25,000 jobs. So far, they have produced close to 500,000 shoes. They aim to produce 1 million shoes by 2030. So that would refer to goal number 3, which is good health. And again, they also have impact relate to SDG 1, which is no poverty. When we're talking about targets, 1 million shoes, 25,000 jobs, that's not the company impact. It's quite important to understand. It is crucial to see that, to discern between output, outcome, and impact. While the number of shoes produced are the output, then the families and the 25,000 jobs created is the output. The outcome would be a certain number of families that are living with a fair wage and that have reduced, that have improved their living conditions. And then the impact is actually the contribution, which should be measured and quantified to the exact percentage by which the inequalities was reduced. So by another example, by implementing a smart mobility solution, which would allow people to drive less and use more shared forms of transport, such as public transport, the number of people that are using the smart solution is our outcome, and then is our output, and then the reduced greenhouse gases would be our impact. I believe this is one of the most challenging aspects for the business, to distinguish between potential outputs, outcomes, and to assess its impact. Here is another example of, we will share the presentation. That's why I included it. I'm aware that you cannot, it's not expected to read, but so you can see, when you get the presentation, you can see an example where the company is assessing its positive or negative impact across its value chain, starting from the raw materials, suppliers, logistics, operations, and of course the end life of the product, whether that's recyclable, whether it's reintroduced in the process or not, or whether it can be reused. Next example is, again, it's a model how to determine inputs, activities, outputs, outcomes, impacts, especially when we can, to a greater extent, calculate and assess what the impact would be. You will see this. For choosing the proper impact indicator, there are quite some resources. So there are resources from the Eurostat, UN, IRIS catalog of metrics, SDG Compass, and you can check. You can also filter for your sector, but still, I believe for the business, that's one of the challenging aspects, to actually define KPIs, as KPIs are crucial to verify impact and to avoid falling into the risk of greenwashing. So my advice is, don't hurry, look and look for assistance, look for the expertise of an expert before communicating your impact. 10 steps, other than look for an expert, what to do. My take would be, and it's step 11, but I will say it in the beginning because it's the most important one. Start today. It's really important. Start today, and start by assessing the hygiene minimum, the internal picture, to see what's within your organization. What do you have? What's your policy standing? To see what you're missing, to identify risks, to do gaps analysis, and to see where you can improve, to see where the missing boxes are, and what you should start implementing, what policies you need to introduce, and what practices, and start developing them. Then it's important to set goals and targets, this one is crucial. It's perfectly okay if you haven't measured your carbon footprint until now, but do start measure it today and do set goals. It's not about achieving the perfect score. The perfect score does not exist. However, it's about showing that you are aware. It's about incorporating it into your strategy. It's about improving the way you do business, improving the way you work with the partners. So assess, identify areas for improvement, set goals and targets. And then look to the outside, see what potential, whether you have impact. Maybe you have, maybe you don't. Maybe you don't, but you will have if you develop the product into a slightly different direction without losing the profitability, of course. Develop your sustainability strategy, which is where the impact alignment complements the internal sustainability practices. Get your employees on board. We take for granted that the management is on board because nothing happens if sustainability efforts are not supported on top level. It's not, they're prone to fail. And it is important to be supported on top level, as when regulations kick in, top level would be responsible and would actually be liable even under the, would be liable under the regulation. Just I'm opening a bracket in France, where the sustainability reporting regulation is already adopted. The CEO level directors, the directors are liable for up to 70,000 euro penalty and up to 5 years imprisonment. So they risk 5 years in jail and more than 70,000 euros if there is a failure to comply with the requirements of the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. For the Bulgarian legislation, we are still yet to see, as the directive will be adopted by June this year. It's already drafted, the Bulgarian version, so we're staying alert. Once we have the employees and the management engaged, we need to engage our suppliers, partners, customers, and we need to work to improve our policy standing. As I mentioned, it's quite important. The suppliers, the vendors, if you lack policies in that area, my advice is it's equally as important as having an ethical conduct code. It's really important. Work with your suppliers, work with your partners and with your customers to develop a sustainable policies that assure for meeting the expectations of the next partner, or meeting the expectations of the investor, or meeting the expectations of the regulator, as those expectations and those requirements are quickly coming, and you might not have the time to react. And then monitor, manage, and report. And it's also quite important to communicate. We talk a lot about regulations, about investors, which is the hard reasons to engage in sustainable practices, the no choice reasons. However, communicating good practices, communicating your ESG standing, communicating your impact, communicating your sustainability practices would make your company stand out. And start today, I say it again. And we can help you. We do all the things I mentioned before and more. We do ESG screening, SDG alignment assessment, risk identifications, advisory support connected with the regulations, and also with specific regulations for specific target markets. And we are here to help. And I am available here. I have a really nice suggestion for you, but get in touch if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you need any assistance, get in touch. And second, get in touch, and we're here to help. That's my call for you. We'll be happy to help you. And something happened with my sharing, just to I will share the presentation, so feel free to get in touch. And our mission is to raise the awareness of this subject, so we're here to help.
Thank you, Iskra. Thank you. Really professional approach and a lot of knowledge that you have. Sounds sounds simple said from your side, but there is so much knowledge behind, and I'm sure that the companies present here would appreciate and would recognize you as the company and the person to lead them in this journey. Okay, so this was the last presentation that we had today. As we are now a small group of people, and part of our mission of Connect Nordics is to facilitate networking, communication. We would like to invite everyone who is willing to switch on camera, to present themselves, to share about your interest in the ESG, in the Nordics, why you have joined the event, to ask questions here to the speakers as you have the opportunity now to talk with them. Of course, you can always talk later, but now as we have gathered here, so please feel free to present and to just to show off. I'm very happy that we managed to gather here today. So just anyone who would like to jump in,